If you've ever tried keto and thought, why am I not in ketosis yet? You're not alone. Most people take 3 to 5 days to enter ketosis. But what if you could do it in 24-48 hours, safely and effectively? Today, I'm going to show you the fastest, science-backed way to enter ketosis, what's actually happening inside your body, and how to apply it in real life. For decades, we've been told that fat gain is about calories. Eat less, move more, and everything will fall into place. But what if that idea is not just incomplete? What if it's the reason so many people feel stuck, frustrated, and metabolically broken? Because deep inside your body, there is a switch, a powerful biological signal that decides every single moment whether you burn fat or store it. That switch is insulin. Insulin is not just another hormone. It is the master regulator of energy storage. Every time you eat, especially carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises, and insulin is released to manage that rise. Its job sounds simple. Move sugar out of the bloodstream and into cells. But what most people don't realize is what happens next. When insulin is elevated, your body receives a very clear message. Do not burn fat. Not later, not after dinner, not when you sleep. Right now. Fat burning shuts down and fat storage turns on. This is not a theory. This is well-established metabolic science. Studies in human physiology consistently show that even small increases in insulin can suppress lipolysis, the process by which your body breaks down stored fat. In other words, as long as insulin is elevated, your body is locked out of its own fat reserves. So imagine this. You wake up and have a typical breakfast. Maybe cereal, toast, or something healthy like oatmeal. Your blood sugar rises quickly. Insulin spikes. Fat burning turns off. A few hours later, you snack. Maybe a granola bar or fruit. Insulin rises again. Still no fat burning. Lunch comes, more carbs, another insulin spike. By the evening, your body has spent the entire day in storage mode, never once accessing the fat you're trying so hard to lose. And yet you're told the problem is calories, but the real problem is hormonal, because your body doesn't decide what to do based on math. It decides based on signals, and insulin is the loudest signal of all. Here's where it gets even more shocking. Chronically elevated insulin doesn't just block fat burning, it trains your body to become resistant to it. Over time, your cells stop responding properly, forcing your body to produce even more insulin just to keep blood sugar stable. This condition, known as insulin resistance, is at the root of many modern health issues, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. And it often develops silently. You might not even know it's happening until weight gain, fatigue, and cravings become your daily reality. But here's the turning point. If high insulin locks fat burning, then lowering insulin unlocks it. This is where ketosis enters the picture. Ketosis is not a trend. It is not a fad. It is a natural metabolic state your body is designed to enter when insulin levels drop low enough. In this state, your body shifts from burning glucose to burning fat. Not just dietary fat, but your stored body fat. And the transformation is profound. Your liver begins producing ketones, an alternative fuel source that can power your brain and body with remarkable efficiency. Hunger signals decrease. Energy becomes stable. And for the first time in a long time, your body starts working with you instead of against you. But entering ketosis is not about adding something new. It's about removing what's in the way, and what's in the way is insulin. Lowering insulin requires a shift in how and when you eat. It means reducing carbohydrates, especially refined sugars and processed foods that cause rapid spikes. It means allowing your body periods of time without food, because every time you eat, insulin rises, even if the meal is keto-friendly. This is why constant snacking is so damaging. Even small bites keep insulin elevated, preventing your body from ever transitioning into fat-burning mode. It's not just what you eat, it's how often you eat. Spacing meals or incorporating intermittent fasting gives insulin the chance to fall. And when insulin falls low enough, the metabolic doors open, fat burning begins, ketones rise, and your body finally accesses the energy it has been storing for years. But this transition is not just physical, it's neurological. Your brain, which typically relies on glucose, begins to adapt to ketones, and many people report something unexpected, a level of mental clarity and focus they haven't felt in years. This is not placebo. Research has shown that ketones provide a more stable and efficient fuel for the brain with fewer fluctuations than glucose. Think about that. The same metabolic shift that helps you burn fat can also sharpen your mind, but there's one more truth most people are not told. Lowering insulin is not just about weight loss. It's about reclaiming metabolic health. High insulin levels have been linked to inflammation, cardiovascular disease, and even certain neurological conditions. By bringing insulin down, you're not just changing how your body looks, you're changing how it functions at a fundamental level. This is why some people struggle for years, trying diet after diet, counting every calorie, pushing through hunger, and still seeing no results because they're fighting biology instead of working with it. But once you understand the role of insulin, everything changes. You stop fearing fat. You stop obsessing over calories, and you start focusing on what actually matters, controlling the signal that controls everything else. Because the truth is simple, but powerful. You don't need to force your body to burn fat. You need to remove the barriers that are preventing it. And the biggest barrier is insulin. Lower it, and your body does what it was designed to do. Ignore it, and no amount of willpower will fix the problem. This is the metabolic truth most people never hear. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most people believe entering ketosis is slow, painful, something that takes nearly a week of struggle, cravings, and exhaustion. But what if that delay isn't necessary? What if the human body, when given the right signals, can flip into fat-burning mode in as little as 24 to 48 hours? Because your body is not slow. It is responsive. It is adaptive. And it is constantly listening to one thing: availability of fuel. Right now, your body is running on glucose, sugar circulating in your bloodstream, stored in your liver and muscles as glycogen. This stored glycogen is your body's first line of energy. And as long as it's available, your body will keep using it, delaying the switch to fat burning. So the question is not, how do I force ketosis? The real question is, how do I remove glucose fast enough so my body has no choice but to switch? Because the moment glycogen runs low, everything changes. Your liver begins producing ketones, your metabolism shifts, and fat becomes your primary fuel. This is not a theory. Studies in metabolic physiology show that glycogen depletion is one of the key triggers for ketone production. When liver glycogen drops significantly, the body increases fat oxidation and begins generating measurable ketones, sometimes within a single day. So how do you accelerate that process? You start by cutting off the incoming supply. When you reduce carbohydrate intake to extremely low levels, typically below 20 grams per day, you stop refilling glycogen stores. No sugar coming in means your body is forced to rely on what it has already stored. And it burns through that storage faster than you think. But here's where most people slow themselves down. They cut carbs, but they keep eating frequently. Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. Even if those meals are low carb, every time you eat, insulin rises, and every insulin spike delays the breakdown of glycogen and the transition into ketosis. This is why intermittent fasting becomes the accelerator. When you stop eating for a period of time, 16 hours, 20 hours, even 24 hours, your insulin levels drop significantly. And when insulin drops, your body gets access to stored energy. First, glycogen, then fat. Research has shown that fasting not only lowers insulin, but also increases levels of norepinephrine and growth hormone, both of which support fat breakdown. In other words, your body doesn't slow down when you fast. It becomes more efficient, more focused, more metabolically active. And this is where the shift begins. Imagine waking up and not eating. Hours pass. Your body starts pulling glucose from glycogen stores. By midday, those stores are shrinking. By evening, they are nearly depleted. And if you continue into the next day, something remarkable happens. Your body runs out of easy fuel, and it adapts. It begins converting fat into ketones, an alternative fuel that can power your brain, your muscles, and your entire system. This is the moment most people never reach because they interrupt the process too early. A snack here, a small meal there, each one resetting the clock. But when you allow the process to continue uninterrupted, ketosis arrives faster than expected. Now there's another layer most people overlook: movement. Your body stores glycogen not just in the liver, but in your muscles. And the fastest way to burn through that muscle glycogen is simple. Use it. Walking, light cardio, resistance training. These are not just workouts, they are metabolic tools. Because every step you take, every rep you complete pulls energy from glycogen stores. And the faster those stores empty, the sooner your body is forced to switch to fat. Studies have demonstrated that combining low carbohydrate intake with physical activity significantly accelerates glycogen depletion and increases ketone production. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. Even a long walk in a fasted state can push your body closer to ketosis. But there's a critical piece that often gets ignored. And when it's ignored, everything feels like it's going wrong. Electrolytes. When insulin levels drop, your kidneys begin excreting more sodium. This is a natural physiological response. But with that loss of sodium comes a cascade of symptoms: fatigue, headaches, dizziness, even heart palpitations. This is what people call the keto flu. And it's one of the biggest reasons people quit, not because ketosis is harmful, but because they are unprepared for the transition. The solution is simple, but powerful. Replenish sodium, add salt to your water, consume mineral-rich fluids like bone broth. Ensure adequate potassium and magnesium. When you do this, the symptoms often disappear, and the transition becomes smooth, because your body is not failing, it's adapting. Now here's what makes this entire process so powerful. You are not just entering ketosis. You are reclaiming metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between fuel sources, the ability to burn fat efficiently, the ability to function without constant dependence on food. And once your body remembers how to do this, it becomes easier every time. But there is one final truth that most people overlook. Speed is not about extremes, it's about alignment. Aligning your food choices, your timing, your movement, and your hydration with how your body is designed to function. Because when everything aligns, your body doesn't resist, it responds, it shifts, it transforms. And within 24 to 48 hours, something begins to change. Hunger fades, energy stabilizes, cravings lose their grip. And for the first time, you feel what it's like to run on a different kind of fuel. Not quick, not temporary, but steady, sustainable, powerful. This is the moment ketosis begins, not as a diet, but as a biological state your body was always capable of reaching. The only question is, will you allow it to happen? You've been told you're doing everything right, cutting carbs, choosing healthy foods, trying to follow keto, and yet the scale doesn't move, your energy crashes, and the promise of fat burning feels just out of reach. It's frustrating, confusing, and deeply discouraging. But what if the problem isn't your effort? What if it's the hidden mistakes silently blocking your body from ever entering ketosis? Because ketosis is not something you force, it's something you unlock. And most people are unknowingly keeping that door closed. It often starts with something deceptively small. Hidden carbohydrates, not the obvious ones like sugar or bread, but the ones hiding in plain sight: sauces, dressings, packaged low-carb snacks, even foods labeled as keto-friendly. These foods are engineered to taste good, to feel safe, to fit the label, but metabolically, they can tell a very different story. Studies have shown that even moderate carbohydrate intake can delay or prevent ketosis, especially in individuals who are already insulin resistant. And here's the problem: your body doesn't care about labels. It responds to molecules. 10 grams here, 15 grams there, it adds up. And every time it does, insulin rises, glycogen refills, and fat burning is pushed further away. But even if you manage to eliminate hidden carbs, there's another mistake that quietly resets your progress again and again: constant eating. The idea that you need to eat every few hours to keep your metabolism active has been repeated for years. But biologically, every time you eat, insulin is released. It doesn't matter if it's a full meal or a small snack. Your body shifts into storage mode. And when you eat frequently, that mode never turns off. Research in metabolic science has shown that prolonged periods of elevated insulin prevent lipolysis, the very process required to break down stored fat. So even if your meals are perfectly low carb, if you're eating 6 times a day, your body may never get the signal to burn fat, and this is where the cycle becomes invisible. You feel hungry because your body isn't accessing fat. You eat to fix the hunger, insulin rises again, and the cycle continues. Not because you lack discipline, but because the signal is wrong. Then there's a mistake that feels counterintuitive, almost surprising: too much protein. Protein is essential, yes. It supports muscle, repair, and overall health. But in excess, protein can become glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis. This isn't speculation, it's a well-documented metabolic pathway. When your body receives more protein than it needs, it converts part of it into glucose to maintain blood sugar levels. And that glucose can trigger insulin. So while protein doesn't spike insulin as aggressively as carbohydrates, in large amounts, it can still keep you out of ketosis. This is why balance matters. Not low protein, not excessive protein, but just enough to support your body without interfering with fat metabolism. And then comes the mistake that stops people in their tracks: electrolytes. When insulin levels drop, as they must for ketosis to begin, your kidneys start excreting sodium at a higher rate. This is a natural physiological response, but it comes with consequences. Sodium loss pulls water with it, and along with that, other key minerals like potassium and magnesium begin to drop. The result is what many call the keto flu: fatigue, headaches, dizziness, brain fog, even muscle cramps. These symptoms feel alarming. They feel like something is going wrong, but in reality, they are signs of transition. A body shifting fuel sources while losing critical minerals. What's shocking is that this isn't a failure of the diet. It's a failure of preparation. Studies and clinical observations have repeatedly shown that replenishing electrolytes, especially sodium, can significantly reduce or eliminate these symptoms. Something as simple as adding salt to water, drinking mineral-rich broth, or ensuring adequate intake of magnesium can completely change the experience. Without it, people quit. With it, they adapt. And then there's the final mistake, the one that ties everything together: impatience. Your body has spent years, sometimes decades, running on glucose. It has adapted to frequent meals, constant insulin spikes, and easy access to sugar. Asking it to switch overnight is possible, but not always comfortable. And when the discomfort begins, low energy, cravings, mental fog, it's easy to assume something is wrong, but research into metabolic adaptation shows that the body requires a short period of adjustment when shifting from glucose to fat as its primary fuel. This period is temporary, but it is critical, because on the other side of that adaptation lies something most people haven't felt in years: metabolic freedom. But impatience interrupts the process. A small cheat meal, a handful of carbs, a moment of doubt. Each one resets the system, pushing you back to the beginning, not because you failed, but because the process was never allowed to complete. And this is the truth most people never hear. Ketosis is not complicated, but it is precise. It requires awareness of what you're eating, how often you're eating, how your body is responding, and what it needs during the transition. It requires understanding that small inputs create large hormonal responses, that hidden carbs are not harmless, that snacking is not neutral, that protein, while beneficial, must be balanced. that electrolytes are not optional, and that time, uninterrupted time, is essential because your body is always responding, always adapting, always listening. The question is, what signals are you sending? If you're constantly feeding it glucose, it will burn glucose. If you're constantly triggering insulin, it will store fat. But if you remove those signals, if you lower insulin, reduce carbohydrates, space your meals, balance your nutrients, and support your body with the minerals it needs, something incredible begins to happen. The resistance fades, the confusion clears, and the door to ketosis finally opens. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped blocking it.